First grade, you can see 78 to 73, that's better. Second grade is the same. Third grade, we increased in our on grade level, and then same with fourth and same with fifth. The next slide is slide 26. It is important to remember that change takes 3 to 5 years. We are implementing new programs, new interventions, but it does take time. And so this year is the first year that we've had the win. What I need now, each student has win, each student gets extra help. Tier 2 kids, Tier 3 kids, and then the Tier 1 kids get enrichment. And so we brought in Math 180, we have study sync interventions, we are constantly researching math interventions. It's really difficult. One of the Amanda Moe and Andrea Finders at Rickard are amazing strategists, and they've been helping me trying to find a math intervention that will work for K5. Okay, so we have done hours and hours. There's like 5 of them, and we have them all. And so it's really important that we keep looking and find something that's going to work for our kids. And so I think we're on the right track. We just got a sample of another one that I just sent to Rickard today, and so hopefully they get to use it and see if it's going to help our kids. Because there aren't a lot. They're all online. They're all interventions online. So going to the next slide. Hi, ready math. Oh, this is good math, thank you. So we have 3,600 kids taking it again. Last year we had 3,300. We are right on track from where we were last year, from fall to fall. And then I need slide 26. Thank you. Again, right on target with national norms. This is math now in iReady. You can see where we were fall, the national norm 18, 19, where we were in fall 22, 23 with everyone national, and then where the district is. Right on track. We're 2% away from the norm, which again is not something we've been before. We've always been 10, 12, 15, 20% away from the norm, and we're 2% away from the norm in our district. This is right where everyone is. Everyone else is having the same problems we are. Again, we are doing Math 180, win groups. We've also at the high school has done some great, they have Michelle Holland, who's a strategist. She's doing fantastic work with the lower math and the lower reading kids to make sure that they're getting up to date, and if they're 2 or 3 grade levels behind, she works with them to make sure they get on their grade level. The next slide is slide 29. It should say, nope, go back. How have relative placements changed from fall to fall? There you go, thank you. And so back one. There we go. So then we go K5, how have they changed from 21 to 22 to 23? We're right where we were. We're better in first grade, better in fourth, better in fifth. And then next slide, you can tell last year, if you remember, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade were our absolute lowest, 8th grade being the lowest that it ever was. And now we're better than we were last year by 6%. That's a big jump. Again, it takes a couple years to see changes, but with all of the things that we're implementing and the new interventions and the trainings that our teachers are getting, we're seeing growth. And then the next slide is 33, please. Thank you. So this is grade 9 reading. 32% of our students are at or above proficiency, which is grade level tier 1. 40% are on watch, tier 2, and then at risk are 28% of our 9th graders. Next slide. Grade 10, 32% are on grade level, 42% are being watched, and 27 are at risk. So the thing about STARS that we didn't have with NWEA, it gives us the name of the students and what they are struggling with, the standard they're struggling with, which we didn't have before. And so that standard, each teacher can actually go in there, look and see what they're not getting and reteach it, which is something NWEA doesn't have. It basically just had the categories and would tell you, okay, well, they're not good in number sense. Okay, well, which number sense standard are they not good in? We didn't have that. We have to figure it out as a teacher. This will tell you what they have. Next slide. And then this is 11th grade. 34% are at or above, 38 on watch, and 27 at risk. one I have is math. Ninth grade, 48 are at or above. 38 is on watch. 15% at risk for ninth grade math, which is great. 15%, that's it. That's huge. That is not what we had last year. We had like 60, 70% at tier 3. But we do have Math 180. They're using it. They've had tons of training. We have training every quarter. So they're huge kudos to the high school, guys. Like huge. That's awesome. 15% at risk. That's pretty good. 10th grade, please. 10% at risk for tier 3. Again, you guys, that's remarkable. Like when you look at these and you see that only 10% of our kids are at tier 3, that is huge. That should be a huge congratulations to the high school. They have worked so hard to make sure that their kids are getting what they need. So grade 11, 21% in tier 3. That's still lower than we have in any of the other grades, except for 9 and 10. The other part about these scores is you can actually see the students that aren't tested, that type of stuff. And so just so you know, in grade 11, it does show 152 kids weren't tested. We don't do grade 11. It's not mandatory. But the kids that were tested, this is where they're at. We didn't do it mandatory because they take the ACTs. And so we didn't want to overtest. Last year, we had 85 testing episodes, you can call them. 85 throughout the year. That is so much. Like, how do you even take that data and reteach them? And so we really reworked the entire assessment calendar, the whole map, and now we have assessment in real time, data in real time to show us what we need to change. And then the last two slides are just our assessment schedule, what you can look at, the map, who takes what, when we take it. We are changing a few things because of the virtual days we had last week. They weren't able to do iReady testing, and so we're going to continue to open that window until the second week of January so people have time to take it. And so that will push back all of the other testing because we want to have at least 12 weeks of instruction. You want to make sure between the testing periods that there's teaching time. And so if you have any questions, I can answer them. And also, if you have any questions, like I know this is a lot. It's a lot to go through. If you have any questions later and you're like, I really wondered about this, just email me.
Thank you, Dr. Arneson. Board members, any questions?
Yeah, I do. All right, so a couple of times you referenced that other districts are having these same problems we are, especially with those K1 and 2 kids. What are other districts doing right now? Are they opening pre-Ks?
They are. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I know that Mandan Bismarck, they have BSEP. I actually went to BSEP when I was their age back then. So they are coordinating with the actual districts to work on their pre-K programs. I know that they've had a lot of changes. I just spoke with their curriculum director, Perry, just a few weeks ago. And I know that everybody is looking at amping up their pre-K programs. Something we've talked about in the district office is having camps during the summer for those kindergarten kids to get some of those skills built up before they come into kindergarten. We are working with, I should say, Leslie and Tanya Brenner and Leslie Allen are working with the CLSD grant. They're working with the preschools around Williston, making sure that they know what our standards are. I've worked very closely with a couple of them and said, okay, these are our kindergarten curriculum guides. These are what we're using because the kids that are coming in are very high need. They don't have the pre-K skills yet. And so the easiest thing to do with alignment and making equity, making sure everybody gets what they need, is for the district to do something. Because here's the thing, you have 20 preschools around Williston. Well, if they're all doing different things, and we can't say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. But if the district had a pre-K program, we can say, these are the skills that we teach in kindergarten. This is what we're going to do before you come to kindergarten so that you're prepared. And so the only way to do that is for us to have a pre-K program. That's the only way we could do it.
Okay, now when you say high need, my definition of high need is probably different than yours.
So academic high need, yep.
Okay.
Yep, so academic would be those kids that are 2 or 3 grade levels below. So when you think of a second grader, they would probably be at kindergarten or pre-K level when they are in second grade. And so how do we catch those kids? Well, how do you catch them? You prevent them being below by teaching them the standards, the pre-standards for kindergarten before they get into kindergarten.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. Thank you. So, of course, we probably couldn't have a pre-K that would be open to every single student. I mean, it would be ideal if we could,
It would be
but
ideal if we could.
I don't know if that's something that we could manage. But if we
Yeah.
could not, how would that look? Would you have to do generalized, voluntary testing of a child that a parent might think could use
Yeah,
some extra help?
I don't know. That's probably a Dr. Fadley question. I
Okay.
would love to see it for the kids that are the academic high needs, but I'd also like to see it for the families that can't afford it.
Mm.
I know that my grandchild Paisley, she's 4. She goes to preschool and it's $250 a month. She's not in daycare, and just preschool is $250. So I would love to see. And my son's young. He's married. He's got 2 kids, and so I would love to see it for the kids that the parents that don't have a huge steady income, or the parents that are poverty level. Like, I would love to be able to see something like that. But again, I don't know what the district's going to offer, or what kind of funds we have, or what kind of grants we can do to make sure that happens.
Okay. And then my last question is, we have a Head Start program, and it's relatively small due to funding and who oversees their program. Is that something that has been investigated, of possibly partnering with our Head Start program to
I'm
open
sure
up?
it has. Yeah, I recall several meetings. Dr. Fadley's been in for that. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right,
I do
perfect.
think Head Start's a little bit different than the pre-K program.
Correct,
I think
it
would be
is.
a little different. Yep.
Yeah, it
Because I
is.
know, like, it's for special needs, IP, that type of stuff, right?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, let me take that back. Individuals who are low income, who have assistance for housing, or who have assistance with food stamps or things of
Okay,
that
gotcha.
nature, in most cases, they can qualify for Head Start, but not always.
Yeah.
However, if you have a child with a disability who is on an IFSP or an IEP, they typically get in sooner.
And so we want to reach all the kids, not just those kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else?
Board members, other questions? Mr. Swint?
Yeah, in regards to pre-K, what research have we done on cost for the district? Has there been, since obviously this is some discussion that's been going on for some time, I, for one, think that we should be offering something that captures these kids before they get to our kindergarten classrooms, and then we can be ahead of the curve. But what research have we done leading up to some sort of presentation to the board on the cost and how effective those programs would be?
I'll go ahead and take that one. We've been in conversation, Mrs. Brenner, Dr. Arneson, Mrs. Allen, myself, in terms of the research behind pre-K and how it helps to mitigate some of the costs later on. And that's research that I've been doing for several years now, because it's a focus and a passion of mine. Because every year we see the same type of trends with our achievement data starting in kindergarten, and what the research says is that if we don't catch them up by the end of their third grade year in our school system, they have less chance of being successful later on as they move through our upper grade levels and into the workforce. So the cost analysis is being ready to be done in terms of what would it cost us to potentially pilot some of a pre-K program, starting small and building from there. You're looking at the cost of an instructor, the cost of a para, the actual space to actually house them, and it really isn't excessively expensive when you take a look at the research on how it decreases the cost of your educational system over time. So that information will be coming to the board in the future, and hopefully as soon as late spring, we'll be ready to present that and give the board some options, at least to discuss as we build the budget for the 23-24 school year. So something that we've been paying attention to very, very, very closely, because Dr. Arneson and the team, Mrs. Brenner, Mrs. Allen, they're exactly right. We have to change the paradigm of how we address this issue, and we can't start when the kid comes to us at age 5, the first day of kindergarten. We have to start before that.
And so just to add on to that, there's a research study that I'll send you. It's amazing. There are some states that are building their prisons based on fourth grade test scores. Yeah. And so the study actually shows the kids who went pre-K, the kids who didn't, and then the prison sizes. It's incredible. I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I can tell you from my experience with my three oldest, we had pre-K for them in the district that we were in originally, and it was a huge jump for them educational wise. And the way the program was set up, it was based off of qualification. Some families had to pay nothing, some families paid a little bit, but it was a great program.
So like sliding scale. Gotcha. Any other questions on data?
I'd like to maybe make an unpopular comment, especially in the educational system, but I'm just wondering if other school districts that you're aware of, and I don't want to put you on the spot, not knowing the answer to a question, but just thinking outside of the box a little bit, do you know of any other school districts that maybe take a different approach to pre-K in equipping parents to teach their kids? Because I'm an advocate for parents. I think the best pre-K teacher are the parents. So what if we thought, how can we equip our parents to prepare our kids for school instead of making the school the surrogate parent?
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. I know that the district used to do a program called Gearing Up for Kindergarten. I don't know if any of you remember that. We would have it twice a month. The kids would come, we would teach them. It wasn't enough to actually, for them to retain it because it was once a month. I don't know what other school districts are doing, but I would be happy to find out.
Yeah.
I'm sure our team would look into it.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the
Yeah,
thought of
that's a great perspective.
readers. I mean, and there's a great correlation undoubtedly
Yep.
between those that are in the prison system and the literacy rate.
Yep.
There's a direct correlation, but what if parents just sat down and read a book to their kids at night? That would just excel them abundantly before they even started school.
would,
So
yeah.
I'm an advocate for the parents educating their
I
kids.
agree.
Thank you.
I'll just piggyback on that real quick. Absolutely agree that there's a tremendous benefit to parents reading to their children at night, and I think that that's somewhat of a lost thing in society these days as technology has advanced. And while I appreciate that comment, I don't know if it will work practically. And here's my thought behind it. We went to parent-teacher conferences last year. Second grader at the time, pretty much every student in that classroom was behind at least one grade level. Teacher was doing everything that they could to try and engage the parents to help their students with that reading. Gave them a sheet to send home. Please read with your student 15 minutes per night to try and get the literacy rates up. She got 2 back. I think they had 25 to 30 students in the classroom. That's, in my opinion, that's where some of this starts as well. Absolutely, as a district, I'm all for reviewing, pre-K, and if we need to look at more individual strategists for one-on-one time, you guys are the educational experts. I'm open to ideas on how we can advance the academic achievement, but unfortunately in society today, that's the hand the teachers and the administrators are dealt with some of these issues. I'll pose one question to either you, Dr. Fadley, or Dr. Arneson, or both of you. If there was one specific thing that the district could do and an ask of this school board to advance student academic achievement, what would that be? And I'm talking across the entire district, K through 12, maybe not just kindergarten.
So I'll try to address that with this answer. I think one of the biggest impacts that can be made, I think the board has supported on both sides. One is parent education and giving the parents the tools. The second is making sure that if the parents don't give their student, their children, the tools prior to coming to kindergarten, that we have a pre-K program in every single one of our elementary schools. I understand that's not realistic to do all at once, but we can build that into the budget, and it can become part of the way we do business in our school system. Investing upfront, reducing costs down the road.
I agree. I would also add to that class size.
Just
Or-
one quick question.
Mr. Renner?
What current school districts in the state have a pre-K program that you know
Ooh,
off
that's
the
a
top of
good
your head?
question. I would need to look that up. Do you happen to know? I know that there are a few that do.
There are several, but I couldn't name them. I can tell you that there is conversation, at least I've been a part of conversations where they're talking about providing some sort of grant monies for school districts to start up programs, pre-K programs. But off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I could tell you some of the other states that do have districts that are doing a phenomenal job with the pre-K. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Texas. They are investing as local school districts in those programs with the staffing and the resources, and they're changing the dynamics of how students succeed in their early elementary years, and there is not this 3-grade level behind. Now, are they perfect? Absolutely not, but they're much further ahead because of the way they've structured their system. And what they're seeing with the structure of their system is what the research that I will provide you shows at the national level. It's decreasing the cost of special education in the middle level, in the high school level. It's decreasing the cost of interventions that are required because students are so far behind because they're not far behind when they're starting on level. So the teachers are able to do their jobs. They're not trying to teach to 4 different distinct levels of students in every one of their classrooms because there is a disparate ability level in some of our classrooms, and it's very vast. So our teachers are doing their absolute best to work through that, but we need to give them some help.
Yeah, and I will send out an email to our educational leaders group across North Dakota and ask them to get back to me and see who has pre-K in their school, because I would love to know as well. I think too, just to piggyback on that, the cost, looking at our cost for Math 180, Math 180 just for 712, guys, just for 712 was over $130,000.
That's almost 2 teachers.
Yeah. Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks, Dr. Arneson. All right, let's go to committee reports next. Building and grounds, Dr. Fadley, you want to touch on that briefly?
President Junt, we have an agenda item that will address the Buildings and Grounds Committee. There is a presentation scheduled for later in the agenda, so I would just suggest that we wait until that presentation. That will cover it.
Okay, sounds good. Moving on then, number 7, public comment. Public participation at board meetings is governed by board policy BCBA. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. Although there is no legal requirement that the public be given an opportunity to speak at board meetings, it is a policy of this board to afford that opportunity in accordance with the following procedures. 1, only items on the published board agenda will be discussed at any meeting of the board unless the superintendent or a board member requests, in addition to the agenda of a regular meeting and the board members present, approve in accordance with board policy. If you do wish to provide public comment, please state your name for the record, state the agenda item that you are commenting on. Comments will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. No individual may speak more than once. Board has adopted policies governing patron complaints. Public is required to seek redress through these policies. Public will be prevented from commenting on a topic if it is 1, governed by a district complaint policy and the complainant has not followed the procedure contained in policy and or the policy prohibits from bringing the complaint before the board. 2, concerns a topic that is prohibited by law from disclosure to the public, such as a student's educational record. If anyone wishes to offer public comment, please step forward to the podium. State your name for the record as well as the agenda item you are going to be commenting on, and if you can just make sure that the microphone is on so it comes through on the live stream. Anybody this evening, public comment? All right, seeing nobody here this evening, old business item was removed, so we will move to new business next. 9A is consideration of the offer of employment regarding the business manager to Kent Anderson. Terms and conditions are spelled out in the board book document that was provided to the school board. What is the board's wishes on that this evening?
I would motion to approve the business manager offer of employment as presented.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Amanda, if you'll call the roll, please.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Gent.
Aye, motion carries. I think Dr. Fadley did want to just make a few remarks here briefly before we move on to the next one.
Yes, if I could have Kent come to the microphone, please. It's my privilege to introduce Kent Anderson as our new business manager for the Williston Basin School District number 7. He comes very highly recommended. Went through an interview process with our board selected committee. It was unanimous that he is the right fit for our school district. I'm going to let him say a few words. We've already met today, talked about some business-related things across the state. He is a certified public accountant, has Class A business manager experience in northwestern North Dakota. He makes northwestern North Dakota his home, which I think is awesome. And we're very glad to have him, and I'm very excited to be able to turn the reins over to him on January 3rd for all items related to the business manager's position. He's going to do a fabulous job.
Thanks, Dr. Fadley. Mr. Anderson, if you just want to make sure that the mic's on there so it comes through on the live feed, please, and floor is yours.
Surprise.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Kent. Drive safe on your way back to the band concert, please.
All right, 9B, we have consideration of approving the 100% design documents related to the CTE project. I believe we have, do we have Rodney on this evening via Zoom? Is that correct?
Mr. Junt, Rodney Bischoff from is on via Zoom this evening.
Okay. Rodney, I'll turn the floor over to you here briefly if you have any remarks or anything that you'd like to share in particular on the documents that were provided to the school board for consideration here this evening, and then I'll open it up to a motion from the board. So, floor is yours.
All right. Well, thanks for taking time. Today, we'll just have an update about the progress made thus far and share a little more information about the project. So I will share my screen. All right. Can everyone see the screen?
We cannot.
Okay. Let me try one more time.
There we
All
go.
right. It looks like it. There we go. As you all know, the Career and Tech Education Center will be home to 11 different programs, program clusters, or provide space for education in those different program clusters included. And one of those program clusters also includes the Del Easton Alternative School. So just a little bit about where we are in terms of progress. We you're looking at a design development review, but we also began develop construction documents and are currently working through the package one, which will be the civil site costs, civil site work, as well as concrete footing foundation, concrete slab, and then the structural steel. And then the package two will be the exterior envelope, mechanical and electrical systems, as well as the interior construction. So the project is moving forward, turning forward as we continue completing the documents. And again, just a reminder, the intent or the goal is for an August 2024 grand opening, ready for that school year. So in front of you is the project that currently stands. Taking a look at again all the different program clusters included, color coding. I know it may be a little hard to see on the screen, but as you can see from the variety of colors, again, we're serving a lot of different programs, clusters, as well as providing education opportunities for a variety of students. The Williston Alternative School is the west wing of the building, with the secret entrance at the north side, providing access to both the DTE and then to the Williston School. The spaces are a combination of classroom space as well as technical lab space or specialty lab space for each of the different clusters. And as we're moving forward in construction documents, we talked about this before, but I just want to reiterate, the goal is to maximize the floor area within the construction budget that's available. So we did bring those to design, as we discussed before, in revised to one-story building. And the other component is the renovation, or end of the renovation for the existing building will be bid as an alternate. So it will receive separate pricing, and the decision can be made on the scope moving forward with renovation, dependent on dollars that are available at the time of bidding. And as talked about already, the construction documents will split into two bid packages, one for civil site work and then structural steel, and then bid package two for exterior envelope, interior construction, and mechanical electric systems. So in front of you is a view of the front entrance, and so this is the facade of the building. And so this is the view that you would see as you enter into the CE Williston entrance. There will be a lot of students also coming from south side from the existing high school. And you can see on the left-hand side, the larger volume space is the construction lab, and then mechanical room adjacent to that. And this is a view of the interior commons. There's two common spaces that we've dubbed career interaction commons. So these are intended to be flexible spaces available to education opportunities, whether it be informal or formal, or allowing business leaders to come to the space, provide presentations, or even a mini career fair within these common spaces of career tech center. And this is just another view of second business interaction commons. This one is a smaller, a little more intimate space in terms of meeting with the career counselor. The career counselor office is actually just to the left, as well as the meeting room. Oops, sorry about that. As well as the meeting room in the space as well, or adjacent to the space. So allowing, that means space could allow for opportunities like job interviews or even for students to meet with industry leaders as well. A little bit of cons by the numbers. So currently, the building addition is just a little over 39,000 square feet. And looking at the renovation, if you look at the renovation, 16,400 approximate. Again, depending on the full extent of the scope that can be accepted, bids are received. So again, we are looking at different alternates. We talked about alternate number one. The priority alternate is renovation of existing spaces to accommodate provide space for agriculture, and then also automotive and diesel technology. Alternate number two is a parking lot. And the reason the parking lot is being separated as an alternate is that it can easily be separated from the project, placed on its own, and again, you can make a decision, allowing decisions to be made once bid prices are known, and it's also work that could occur late on in the case that potential funding becomes available for it. So it's work that does not impact the building addition. Other alternates we're looking at, some are looking at some casework, so cabinets with the classroom spaces. Most of the classrooms have full of casework, looking at maybe some of that an alternate. And then there's also folding wall partition between classroom and lab space in two instances, and looking at including that as an alternate as well. And as we're going through the process, the team is also currently looking at an update to the overall project budget and project estimates to review the budget. So we may need to look at other options to reduce costs while maintaining floor area. So as we said, we'll continue with the construction documents. We actually have 2 days of meetings coming up with user groups tomorrow and Wednesday, and continuation with the cost estimate update. Hopefully looking at having updated information at the start of the new year. And with that, any questions from the board members?
Thank you, Rodney. Board members, I'll open it up to motion here first and then entertain any questions that the board might have for Rodney or anybody else.
I'll move we approve the 100% design document.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Wallstead. Board members, any questions? I just had one, Rodney. What's the timeline in terms of when we would need to award bids related to the construction in order to meet an August 2024 opening timeline?
So with the two phases, the first phase, if documents made available in January, the plan would be to bid to have those documents available through the end of January into mid-February. So we'd be looking at the first bid package late February, early March for bidding, acceptance of those bids. And the second bid package would be bid during the month of March. Those will be opened in April. So with all of that, is the plan to have full numbers by in April to allow for a month of coordination, contract coordination, mobilization, and ready for construction to release hit the ground running in May. What will, if we're will allow, we'll try to in even sooner, but May is end of April, early May is usually what we're shooting for.
At this rate, Rodney, we might have snow into July.
Yeah, I actually, I'd make an attempt to be with you today. Unfortunately, the roads were not great on the drive, so that's why I'm joining online tonight.
All right, board members, any other questions before we call the roll on this one? Dr. Fadley?
Just like to make one comment publicly. You know, every project like this takes somebody working to keep everyone organized, and I want to commend Audrey Larson for her work, keeping the entire team organized and on schedule, working with the CTE instructors and making sure that there's voice and ownership in what's being designed. She's done an excellent job, and I think she deserves that credit.
Thank you, Dr. Fadley. Anyone else? Panda, let's call the roll.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9C, Williston High School stomp presentation. And we're going to welcome Mrs. Olson to the podium here. Board members, you do have a handout on your desk here, so. Awesome, thank you. Board members, any questions that you have this evening?
Ms. Olson, if these two gentlemen are any indication of what your classes are like, I think I'd like to join too. And I can see why you like coming to work every day. Thank you for doing what you do.
All right, I don't have any questions, but I have some comments. So Oli needs to give herself a lot more credit, and her staff a lot more credit. So my daughter Miranda, which most of you know, is in the SNOP program. This is her final year. Yep, it sucks. The one thing that Oli didn't talk about is that other districts around our area over the years have reached out to Oli specifically to get a PACES lab going in their own district because they've seen the remarkable achievements that her and her staff have created and these different projects that the kids do. I'm not going to name any districts, but I'm going to let you know that most of the districts in Region 1 have reached out to Oli to have her go to their school and build this there. And that says a lot. My daughter, as I said, she's not here tonight, but she has participated in the SALT program for 3 years and has tried all different types of labs. And they found some ones that she's really good at. She's great at sitting down and putting a nut on a screw, screwing things together, helping build things. She can do that with minimal assistance. We figured out that that was such a strong skill for her that I helped her create her own business. Miranda has her own business now. She makes her own jewelry. We had a sale on Saturday here locally. And if it wasn't for the STOP program, Miranda would not be able to do that. She's made 70 pieces of jewelry in a matter of 3 months. And it's a direct result of this program. And it's so incredibly important for our community. And not enough people in our community know what this program is and how vital it is to our young adults who have special needs. A lot of times in the past, when you graduated from high school, you were done. And then mom and dad had to figure out what to do with you next, how to help you. This program encourages every single student who's a part of it to become a productive member of the society, their town, their community, in whatever capacity they can have. And that's why I say you guys really need pats on the back, kudos. The high school does an amazing job. Mr. Germanson, thank you so much for supporting this program, for supporting the students. And Audrey Larson, thank you so much. I mean, everyone who is a part of this program, from the general ed teacher to the para and the students themselves, thank you guys.
Dr. Bailey?
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing about your program, and I too would love to go back to high school. It was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Yeah.
Ms. Williams?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you guys thank you as well. I've went through the high school. I've got to see your room, and just, there's so much you guys have compacted in there because it sounds like all the options you give the students. If one item doesn't fit them, you find something else that will. And the fact that you work with all sorts of ideas of, like you said, driving them around because some people learn better, thank you for doing that. And it shows that it doesn't go unnoticed. The kids being here, thank you guys so much for sharing their experiences. You can tell they love you. I know your staff loves you, and there's a lot of people that look up to you at that high school, not only because of your experience at the high school, but also just your love of students and your love of job. So like Heather said, I think you don't give yourself enough credit in your position, and We just appreciate you at our level all the time, but it's that on the ground in the trenches, it, it's every day that people are watching you and they appreciate you so much. So thank you for bringing your students and also letting us know what you guys have created. And I'd like to kind of ask kind of what Mr. Junt said earlier. Is there anything that we can do that's impactful for you that hasn't been done at at this level of us? I did ask. And again, this is, again, sometimes we can't do something with us, but it always just opens that door. And sometimes you hear people say space, sometimes you hear people say class sizes. It's not anything typically we haven't heard, but it gives you a chance to say it out loud, to be heard, and maybe at a higher level and in front of, people that can push for that a little bit more and stuff. So thank you guys again. And my last question for you is, they were kind of talking about this earlier. What kind of partnerships do you have from the STOMP program within the community? Are there restaurants that, once they graduate out of your program that they segue into? And is there something that we can do as a district to help you get more partnerships in that? So when you say that you're starting to get more people to the program, is there a specific program that they sign up for through the business so that everyone knows that they're a part of that program, or is that specifically just between you and Bethel, or you and McDonald's, or who goes? Is that something district known, or is that just through your program? Would just be my ask from here, Dr. Fadley, is something maybe be put at a level at the admin office that you're also aware of those partnerships. I know you go out and speak to a lot of people, and when we do the career fairs, I'd like to see a sticker that says Stomp certified or Stomp, accessible, so the kids can be just as open to walking around there. And we have so many people show up to those job fairs. I would love to see that. So just something, again, not that our level is there, but just something we can work on. Thank you.
I just want to make one comment. I was hoping that you would say that you needed that transition services vehicle because I just wrote a little note about that, whether it's a van or a Suburban, that is an absolute necessity. So I'm going to encourage you to email me tomorrow. We're going to set up a meeting, and we're going to find out what exactly needs to be included in that vehicle, and we're going to get working on getting that for you as part of our budgeting process, because Um, it's one thing to do all these wonderful things, but when you have that transition services vehicle that you can get out into the community and you can experience these things, as a former special educator myself, it makes a world of difference about what you're able to do. So I expect that email tomorrow.
Ms. Olson, I'd like to add that I'm visually impaired, and if I could ever be a resource to any of your students at any time, I don't know what it would be, but here I am, and I'm free.
All right, anything else? Appreciate everybody's comments. Ms. Wheeler?
I just have one last comment I just remembered. The other thing that the STOMP program does is it encourages the general ed students to come in and work with everybody. I have a photograph if anyone wants to see it. I'd be more than happy to pass my phone along. Well, here, I'll just do it. Here, take your phone. There's a large number of students that rotate in and out of Oli's room and work with their fellow classmates, just doing various things. Maybe helping them with a assignment or helping them do whatever, going to gym class with them and helping them participate in a gym activity. And I know for my daughter, that is something that she looks forward to every single day. I'm not going to say the name of the students, but there are a couple that are very instrumental in her daily activity, and she really looks forward to seeing them every single day. And that's another important piece to this program.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation this evening, very beneficial for the board. All right, board members, we're at about 6:45. How's everybody doing? You want to keep going? Need a 5-minute break? Okay, we'll recess for approximately 5 minutes, reconvene at about approximately 6:50. All right, I've got 6:50, so we'll be back on the agenda here. We are resuming on new business agenda 9D, which is strategic plan presentation related to technology. And we have Ms. Allen with us here this evening to lead us through that presentation. So the floor is yours.
Now I am. Okay. So thank you very much for having us come and share a little bit with what we're doing with the Technology Committee. Just sort of a halfway mark of what we've been plotting and planning in the technology world. We're really focusing on standards and on where some of our gaps are falling with technology. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to show you some of the goals that you've seen before that you know, but where our progress is on those goals too. So if we can go to our next slide, those are our lovely committee members. And we have board representatives that come and cheer us on also with some great questions and support. Our next slide. So we are strategic priority number 6 with technology. We have that annual report to the board, but we really love what's going on right now, so we thought we'd give you a little bit more of what's happening. There are 2 goals within this strategy. The first goal is rather lengthy, and again, you've seen this before. I'm not going to go through and read every line, but then our next slide shows you where we are with this progress. And we're really proud of some of these documents and where we've gotten to. The standards are going to be finalized and presented May 2023, adoption, implementation, hopefully fall of 2023. And this is our rough draft, so if you'd like to click on that, that is an active link. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get in there. So we've broken down our learning outcomes, and this is not just standards, but also pieces we've been talking about, like keyboarding skills. Keyboarding skills is actually not a standard in technology, but it's something we need. And so we're talking about going above and beyond just what is in the standards. So we've got to break it broken down into K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. But if you'll click on that scaffolding tab at the bottom, it's still in its infancy. We're not complete by any means, but this is really where I think we're going to have our big breakthrough with our educators, so that we can actually track. Okay, I'm teaching first grade. What do I really need to focus on? I'm teaching second grade. What do I need to focus on? And we're breaking it down not just with the standards, but with the skills learned. So computing devices send and receive information is a lovely standard, but what does that mean? Well, that means understanding file types, locating your home folder, save and open specific files. And so this is the work we're doing right now. We're breaking it down and showcasing what skills we really want our students to learn by the time they graduate with us at WHS. If we could go back to the slides. And that pretty document is available for you guys to continue to look at, and we'll continue to build it as we go. There's a tab, if you go back, there we go. Cool. All right, so then we've also been breaking down our digital resources that are available. And we don't have to click on that right now. That's something that you guys can explore, and if you have questions on, we can answer that in the future. This is resources that are digital, that are available sometimes for our K2. A program called Code Monkey is available for our littles, and we use that a lot in the media centers during Hour of Code Week, which is the beginning of December. And then we also have broken out into different areas like literacy and math, and what kind of digital tools would be used in those areas. And then our resource requests, so that our teachers can add if they find a product or an app that they like and they want to use in their classroom. There are some guardrails there, things that they have to meet in order for us to look at the app, and then the technology team looks at it, and we decide if it's something we want to approve or not, and it goes through Dr. Fadley as that last step. And then we'll keep going on. So our goal two is a little bit more of that professional development side, looking at equipment and applications. And if you go to the next slide, it'll show where we are with that progress. So we have available trainings in Panorama, Access It, which is our new library media center program. And then iReady, Share, which is what we use for our website. New Teacher Tuesday has a lot of great trainings that happen during that to help prep our new teachers. Power School, Secretary, Epic, all of this is a part of our technology committee and things that we talk about. Really great positive is that requested additional FTE for Digital Innovation Director that was approved for next school year. And so that will be a big part of what we're talking about in the spring as we prep for that position to come on board. So that's what I've got for you. Short and sweet, hard to follow that last one. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Board members, any questions?
I do just have a couple questions. So you guys are basing kind of how you're doing this on goal one progress based off what you've kind of shown and click to see current list of digital resources available. You know what the kids are coming into in high school, so you're trying to build based off that structure up until what they're going to, and that's how you're kind of saying what they need to know by 4th grade, 7th grade, and so on. Is that what I'm hearing and seeing?
So just to make sure we're, so the resource list is what we currently have, but that does not dictate what they're learning as far as the standards go, because some of those standards don't necessarily need an app in order to be taught. So we're going, we're looking at what we already have and then sliding it into the standards where it gets met. So for instance, with that Code Monkey, that would be in our K2 standard of, it's coding, of technology systems, computer analyzing, some of those areas for our standards. So, does that what you
Yes,
asked? Okay.
absolutely. That is
All right.
it. And then my second question is, do you think that with knowing what we know now about, I mean, and we've kind of known, but with the reading scores and all that, you know, we want to put a bigger window on that. Sometimes you can mesh, I feel like, technology and reading at the same time to, with the bouncing balls and all those things. Is that something we're looking at or talking about as well, since we're looking at doing more technology? Plus, we know we need to really focus on some reading scores at a younger age, especially that K through 4 level. Or what are you guys thinking already on that?
Technology integration is always on that forefront of thought, especially as we have so many students coming in that have that experience already with their phones, with their tablets. But there's some important research too about having a physical book or having that writing time where you're working out a math problem. And so we're trying to strike that right balance. We want our kids to be prepared, of course. We want them to be future ready. We want them to dream of that future that we have no clue what's going to happen yet. But we want to give them those tools. And so even though I highlighted the resources that we're using, it's less about that and more about the skills. And a lot of technology skills now are problem solving, algorithms, and finding patterns. And that's a big part of learning technology. And it's a skill set that you can translate into other areas too. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this gets structured, how we end up, and where we go next year with it.
Dr. Fadley?
I just want to make a comment. I remember like it was only yesterday. It was back in, I believe, the early part of August, where Mrs. Allen and I got together and we talked about the future in our school district as it pertains to media literacy, the progressive outlook about how we're going to move the needle in many different areas in our school system. And, she's jumped right in on this technology committee, and she's done the huge value add already as we navigate through this future direction, because Mrs. Allen knows the progressive side of media literacy and why this digital innovation and all of these things are so important. So we've tried not to call our folks librarians anymore, and it's for us old timers. It's hard,
I'm the worst offender.
and
I've been
they're
librarian for so
much,
long.
much, much more than that today.
Yes.
So thank you.
Mr. Swint?
I just wanted to say, as we're scrolling through here and getting to see your presentation, one thing that strikes me, and I've been getting to see this week in and week out through our leadership teams, is the makeup of these committees that we're getting to see. We're getting to see our educators take back over the schools in so many awesome ways, and to see the excitement from the presentations that we're getting each week now, and getting to see the strategic plan in action and all these people who play a role. Down here at the bottom, you put board representatives. I love it because we don't lead these committees, and not anymore. And we're where we should be, and getting to see you guys do what you love to do. I love it. I love watching this and seeing this. I appreciate all that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Swint. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Ms. Allen, this evening. Appreciate it. All right, next item then is number 9, letter E, consideration of approving the Memorandum of Understanding with Liberty Evangelical Free Church. This is regarding kind of a shared parking type agreement that was attached in your board book. What's the board's wishes on this agenda item?
Motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding with Liberty Evangelical Free Church as presented.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Walstead. Any discussion? And let's call the roll on this one, please.
Walstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9F is consideration of approving a donation from Devil's Lake Paramedics of an ambulance for utilization in our career and technical programs. What's the board's wishes on this item?
I move that we approve the donation from Devil's Lake Paramedics.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Renner. Any questions or discussion?
I just wanted to say I thought this was awesome to be able to have added to the district.
Yeah, just also like to voice my thank you, and just seeing this type of donation from an outside entity is it just shows the community resource and just support we have in all areas of Northwest North Dakota. So thank you guys.
And again, credit where credit is due. Mrs. Larson, thank you for facilitating this process and keeping me on task and getting all of the documents that need to be done, because transferring titles and insurance and all of those things. The next item you'll see at some point is an MOU with the city on joint use so that we can partner with them. Hopefully at some point in the near future, our students will be taking their EMT certification driving portion of their tests with this vehicle.
Great, exciting things for the program. All right, any last questions or comments? Anna, let's call the roll on that, please.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Walstead,
Yes.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9G is consideration of approving Swank streaming and licensing. Copy of that proposal has been included in the board book. What's the board's wishes on this item?
I'd move to approve the Swank streaming and licensing.
All right, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Swint. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, let's call the roll on that, please.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Walstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9H is consideration of approving the contract for Donna Deichus, hopefully I got that right, 4th grade teacher at Hagen. Copy of that contract's included in board book. What's the board's wishes on this item?
Move to approve the contract.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Walstead. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, let's call the roll on that, please.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9I is board action regarding board governance. We did hold a board workshop to listen to Aspen Group's presentation. Just looking for action up or down on this item, whether the board wants to move forward with obtaining a formal proposal from Aspen or some other entity for that matter to move forward with board governance model. My recommendation to the board is to move forward with obtaining a proposal from Aspen Group to move towards a board governance model. I think that's vitally important for the future success of the school district. I think if you look at other high-performing school districts across the state, majority of them operate under a board governance model, and I think there would be a lot of benefits to the district. So I'll open it up to discussion, motions if the board wishes to. I just need direction from the board on.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Swint.
I would motion to approve moving forward with Aspen and seeking a proposal from them to
Okay.
go forward with board governance.
All right, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallstead. Questions or discussion?
I just want to thank Aspen for coming up and taking the time to answer the questions. This board has been looking at doing something similar to this for over a year now, and we know what we're looking for is very specific to the vision that we already have created with District 7 from our strategic plan and our long-range facility plan. And I personally felt like Aspen would be a good fit to that with the way they answered the questions and also being able to make the plan to our liking, not to what they say they would do. It's a lot of what would work for our district and specifics. So that was a really big deal to me. And then also it's a big deal that I leave this district in a better state or a more even state than hopefully I walked into it. And I feel like giving some type of governance to the next person that sits in this seat is a fair representative of the vision that we've had, which is continuous growth of District 7 and no going backwards, always moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Mr. Renner?
Yeah, I just think this is the direction we need to go, more of a monitoring and ensuring things are getting done. And like Mr. John said, a lot of the successful school districts in the state are doing it and are very happy with it from the board members I've talked to of those school districts.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Ms. Wheeler?
I agree with both of your comments on that. I think that we do need to have the board be in a better place for the future. And so the future board members can pick up and go with what we have set up in for them to do that. However, I don't think Aspen is the place to go. But I am going to vote yes because I want to see what their final proposal is. I just have a lot of reservations about the company specifically.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Any other comments, questions? If this is ultimately passed this evening, I will reach out to Randy and Lisa at Aspen to put together a formal proposal regarding cost, firm timeline, commitment from the board, commitment from them for presentation at the next board meeting.
Chairman Junt, could you ask them how sticky they are on the 5-day within 4 months thing is, just based off questions, and what their reasoning is, if it's, it has to be done because they think you're going to hold on to the information more, or that's just their timing? I'd just like to know.
I just called her before this meeting, and she called me back, and yeah, it sounds like 5 full days is what.
2 days to design, and then 1 day for going over monitoring results, and another 2 days for how it's going to be implemented. And I said, are they part days or full days? And she said, no, they're full 8 day.
So it'd be a full 8-hour day.
Yeah. Just one other question, though, Dr. Fadley. I know you mentioned at our board retreat, this
do you support us going in this direction?
I support this 100%. I believe this is what makes districts able to take that next step into what I would refer to as a high performance model, eliminating some of the difficulties associated with the current structure in getting things done in a timely manner. But also, if you look at the districts that are utilizing this, these are the districts that we strive to be like. So if we can improve ourselves, we've already improved so much in the short time. If we can improve even more, it's something that I believe is worth the time commitment. My question would be, is there alternatives to, I know that all of you work, most all of you work very busy schedules, so is the day have to be a traditional day? Can it be a 3 in the afternoon to, you know, whatever timeline? So some flexibility in the time, the times that the trainings are offered, so that it doesn't take our board members away from their career and their life, work events during the work week. I don't know about if I speak for the board on this one, but I think, and I value this enough, that I'm willing to do a Saturday or Sunday and get this done and knock it out and try to eliminate some of the inconvenience with your work schedules.
I would say yes, Dr. Fadley, that would work well, starting later in the afternoon, and these will be in Miami Beach, Florida, is that correct?
Yeah, just some thoughts to that, and we can certainly discuss this more in depth once we have a proposal from Aspen. But I thought maybe a second half of 23 target on this for completion and start with hopes of implementing this January 2024. I think we're going to have a really busy first half of next year, specifically on the facilities side of things that could involve significant public participation, public meetings that I certainly would hope that the board members can attend those. So I think tacking on 5 full days of that first half of next year is a big ask of you guys. So I was kind of thinking summer's generally a little bit quieter, both for, you know, administration, Dr. Fadley, as well as board members. We don't have such heavy agenda items typically in the summer months, with school being not in session, that might be a good target. Get it started in like July, August for those first few days, and then have it completed by the end of 23 to implement in 24.
Chairman Gent, I think there's prudence in that, because then it gives us a longer runway to make preparations around our work and family schedules to know what we need to plan for.
One of the things that I really liked about Aspen is that because some of the things were handed back over to the superintendent, the board was able to be, I don't want to say Q&A'd by the public, but also have a little bit more on one-on-one time. That's how you guys all understood that too, right? And so that's one thing, Chairman Junt, that I don't mind waiting till that last part, but maybe that's something with Dr. Fadley and us, that since we are looking at doing, you know, we're implementing the strategic plan, we may be going out for this bond, you know, all that I think the public is kind of ready for some type of ability to be in front of the board in a different sense in a board setting. And, you know, that's one thing I really did like about Aspen is somehow, right, we haven't learned how, but they allowed that governance to have more one-on-one time with your constituents, and where they felt like they were able to talk to you and vice versa. And we haven't had that ever, right? Our board policy kind of states that's not what we do. So maybe that's something I'd like to see is, you know, even if there's only one meeting in between now and whatever we decide to do, I do think the public would like to see more of the board and a, whatever Aspen was saying, I don't even know how they were saying it, owners, yeah, owners. They were owners and stuff like that. So I really like that structure they had. So that's my only thing is, since we're going to be waiting till 2024, some of those questions and those feelings and emotions will be coming out in 2023 without the ability to address them as much. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, things you'd like me to bring back with the proposal? All right, hearing none, Amanda, let's call the roll, please.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9J is consideration of approving the appointment of Dr. Richard Fadley to serve as the district representative for the Greater Northwest, now called WERC, W-E-R-C, to replace Mrs. Lori Olson. What's the board's wishes on this item?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Swint. Any questions or discussion? Amanda, let's call the roll on that, please.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9K is consideration of approving the Power School agreements as required by the state. Those have been attached in your board book. What's the board's wishes on this item?
Move to approve 9K?
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Take your pick, Mr. Renner or Mrs. Wheeler. Any questions or discussion on this one? Okay, let's call the roll on that, please.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. 9L is next agenda item for a potential executive session for the school board to discuss negotiations with Dr. Robert Smith as related to his voluntary resignation, which if held in public would have an adverse fiscal effect on the school district. This item may be discussed in executive session because the portion of a meeting of a school board during which negotiation discussions occur as related to a contract may be closed by the governing body. Legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code 44-04-19.1, subsection 9. Topic or purpose of this executive session is for the board to discuss contract negotiations related to the submission of a resignation by Dr. Robert Smith. At this time, a motion would be in order to discuss this topic in executive session rather than an open meeting. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallstead. Any discussion on the motion? And a call the roll, please.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carried. Executive session will be recorded. All members of the governing body are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. All right, minutes will show the executive session adjourned at 7:43 p.m. Public has been invited to return to the meeting room. We are now back in open session at 7:44 p.m. We'll move to agenda item 9M, which would be any board action regarding the resignation of Dr. Smith and the associated separation agreement and release.
I'll motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Robert Smith and associated separation agreement and release.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? And if you'll call the roll, please.
Renner,
Aye.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
No.
Williams,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. Item 10 is the consent agenda. This would consideration of the bills presented in the board book for payment, as well as the regular school board meeting minutes from December 5th and special school board meetings of December 8th and December 12th. What's the board's wishes on the consent agenda?
Move to approve the minutes and pay the bills.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion? And if you will call the roll, please.
Swint,
Aye.
Wallstead,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Renner,
Aye.
Junt.
Aye, motion carries. That concludes the agenda this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, meeting adjourned at 7:45 p.m.